Satellite with giving glow, side by side through highs and lows. Together find a way to show love that only grows. Lee and Betty's guiding star shines on missions near and far, helping hands like we were one till the day is done. Spread love's light through the night, Mission 22 in sight, hearts burning bright. Wreaths across the winter snow, each a promise we bestow, honoring those who let us know freedom's seed we sow. In the shadows be the spark, light a fire in the dark. With one voice we'll make our mark, together we'll embark. Through the valleys we unite, every step a gleaming light. With the Johnsons guiding sight, we make the world right.
Drones, they take the load, winging it with friends in tow. Life on the screen, watch the show. Laughs and chatter in the air, nothing to hide, nowhere rare. Live stream fire, join the flare, adventures wild without a care. Tune in live, don't be late. JJ Drones, if they communicate. Stories bold, videos great. Join the team, feel the faith. Tech and travel, flying high. Questions answered, never dry. Drones and gadgets touch the sky. All the news, no alibi. Underneath the digital sun, friends and fun, they are the one. Learning's cool with a twist of fun. Hit subscribe, the ride begun. Tune in live, don't be late. JJ Drones, if they communicate. Stories bold, videos great. Join the team, feel the faith. She said media brings the answers. Drone and veteran shows disasters. TJ and Gary make us laugh, while the train wreck clears the path. Tune in live, don't be late. JJ Drones, if they communicate. Stories bold, videos great. Join the team, feel the faith. Join the team, feel the faith.
I appreciate all of you for coming along for this ride with me, and we'll see you later on down the road.
I'm Karl Marx, and I approve this message.
It's JJ Drones Live. Welcome to the train wreck. Thank you, everybody, for coming in today. We have got my dad, Dave Johnson. We've got Dave from Gotta Love Thailand. We've got Jenny, Steve, and Dave from Stormy Sky Real Productions. It's been a long time since I've seen you guys. Thank you so much for coming in. And we've got On Location with Scott in the house. And we've got Brandon Ray. Thank you so much, Brandon. Hopefully I didn't screw up your last name. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. If you would like to help support the program, you can email me any of your Amazon links, jason@jjdrones360.com, and we will get those links converted to a link that you can use to help support this channel. And our Spreadshirt shop is open. It's jjdrones.myspreadshop.com. If you want to get your JJ Drones merchandise, now is the time to get it, because we've only got maybe another month and we'll be done with the JJ Drones merchandise. And in order to submit Blinker Fluid of the Week videos, email Dan, droningveteran@gmail.com, and he will use your videos to show Gary going and driving erratically to make sure he makes it to the bathroom on time. So thank you, everybody, for being here today. So what we are going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about pros and cons of joining the trucking industry. And I just want to share a little bit of a story here that I found from, what is this website here? Hang on. Trainwreck is real. I need to go here. All right. So from freightways.com, CVSA votes to put truck drivers with limited English out of service. The Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance Board of Directors voted on Thursday to make English proficiency violations grounds for truck drivers to be placed out of service, a decision that could significantly reduce trucking capacity. And that's why I wanted to bring this up. The new out of service rule becomes effective June 25th. And then let's see here. According to the CVSA, by adding English language proficiency to the out of service criteria, a commercial motor vehicle inspector may place a driver out of service if they cannot demonstrate proficiency in reading and speaking English. So I'm screwed. The FMCSA will issue guidance for commercial motor vehicles inspectors to ensure enforcement of the English language proficiency standard as applied consistency. So we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of trucking and the CVSA's decision to go forward with that after the Trump did the whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what I'm saying because this is a train wreck. So I'm going to bring in people that do know what they're saying. We're going to start off with the man, the myth, the legend, the one who always gets everything right, Mr. Shade Tree America. And this week he's not drunk on alcohol. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I said I guess I have to unmute myself.
Yes, that's always helpful. And he's not drunk on anything but his own personality this week. We like to call him Dan the Droning Veteran.
What's up, everybody? We got some diesel. Feature some diesel.
And
you want some diesel?
And this man is too pretty for GQ magazine. You know him, you love him. His name's Karl Marx. How you doing, Karl?
I'm all right. How are you?
Oh, just fine as frog's hair. And I'm only fine today because of our unofficial sponsor of every show that we do, because it's just that amazing, Johnson Juice. Thank you, Johnson Juice.
Folks up north, they know the score. Johnson's Juice, you'll crave some more. From sugar and shacks to your front door, a Michigan treasure, rich and pure. Johnson's Juice, poured thick and sweet from the Upper Peninsula, can't be beat. Pancakes, waffles, biscuits too. Nothing tastes better, all thanks to you. Nothing tastes better, all thanks to you.
And we also have Gary from Jailbait and Tackle Outdoors. And if people don't know about it, today is...
Quiet?
Oh, yeah, he is quiet.
Gary, what? I haven't heard a peep.
Nobody gave me
You don't
the
have your
cue to
peeps?
talk.
You don't have your peeps? Where's your peeps?
Oh my God! Somebody, ixnay the army, dude. Please, please.
In fact, I'll. There you go. That's so that. Yeah, that's just. There you go.
Thank you.
Poke him easier.
All right, so let me ask a question.
Yes.
Is there a dude by the name of Karl Marxist or something like that in the chat?
Yeah, he's in the upper right-hand corner there.
Okay. welcome back from exile there, sir. I had a petition right here in my notebook to remove you because you can't be in the intros if you're not in the outros. You know, you feel me?
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. So no more of this. Like, I got 3 little girls to cuddle in. No, come on, dude, man up, make an appointment. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'll work on it.
And we appreciate that, and we would appreciate you if you would go check out Gary Jailbait and Tackle Outdoors and shoot him a message and say congratulations for 4 years here on the YouTube. So congratulations, Gary, and in honor of your 4 years, we have compiled 4 great videos of you driving to make it to the number 2 station. So let's get into it.
The number 2 station. This is gonna be fun. I'm starting my 4th year.
Did you get your license from Upsweet? Homes are blaring all the week. Still they drive on like a clown. Stop sign means just slow down. Congrats, you've earned our weekly crown. Ooh, too.
It's Blinker Fluid of the Week.
Diesel
I
flavor.
feel you.
Thankfully, it's not Steph. Because Steph tastes like piss.
Yes.
Always keep your head on a swivel. We have red light runners.
Diesel's kind of hard to go down, though.
I mean, every week these people are driving the exact same way, Dan. I don't understand.
Crazy, isn't it?
I know. That looks dangerous.
Yeah, the red car.
All right, here's number 1. I remember this intersection quite a bit because you show it quite a bit.
I do show it quite a bit. It's such a good
Yeah.
intersection. It
Every
provides so
week.
much entertainment. But that's not why you're remembering this time.
No.
But look at that view. The view's a beautiful
Well,
view.
that's Gary just going back in the other direction because the gas station's that way. I mean, it's a really, I mean, he had to go.
You
Number
gotta
2,
go, you
always
gotta go.
go.
That's right. I wouldn't want to wait that line of traffic to go number 2. Good job, Gary.
Oh, yeah. Ready to go, Gary. Wise man.
Adapt, improvise, and overcome.
That's right.
I mean, I understand why you didn't go over the center median in that area because of the curve. You know, that little bump.
Yeah, well, here's number 2. This is Gary's number 2 of his number 2.
Yeah, here I'm waiting. There's 2. Well, here, pause it for a second.
Okay.
So
Yes,
here, to the right, that there's a road and it goes back and around.
Okay.
So it's a hard corner to see. But and then you got the hill on the left side from the overpass.
Okay.
So that's kind of why I'm sitting there waiting. And then I'm in an automatic vehicle that sometimes likes to wait 4 seconds after I push the gas to decide to move forward. So I really make sure this is a clear intersection before I try and go across it.
Now, does this have anything to do with the car that's in your right mirror?
Yes, it does too. And I actually seen the blinker. So I was getting ready to go. I was thinking about going, and then I seen the blinker. You'll see the blinker in a second, but
Okay. Well, I mean,
I was glad I held off because you never can trust a blinker, but sometimes you can.
Well, yeah, but Gary's got to go. You know.
Gary's got to go.
See, telling you,
When
when a man's got to go, a man's got to go. And here's number 3.
I can go. So this one here, or pause this one too,
Okay.
because right turn on, or you can make a right turn on a red light, even in a truck.
Yes.
You can. But this is what I call a tight right, and if you pay attention, like when I make my turn, if you pay attention to the people like making a left turn, they will turn into the area that I need, and you can attest to that.
Yes.
So on a tight turn like this, I will not make a turn on right unless I know it is clear on the right. But I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people, well, why didn't you turn right earlier?
Well,
I didn't want to take out a truck or take out that light pole either. So I'm not a Swift driver.
Or that little electric box that's there on the side of the road.
Well, electric box.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need
that
those
wouldn't be bad.
boxes, though.
No. But
that's why I'm sitting here waiting at this corner, and then buy it too.
But Gary was nice enough to back up for you.
Yes.
I love that.
It's just so. I mean, I get so happy inside when somebody backs up.
And here's number 4. Gary needed to get in front of that FedEx truck. That bad. I mean, that's how bad it was.
He really had to go, except for he took the wrong corner because that was not to the gas station.
Right. So we're at the end of our videos. We've got 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat. You can vote for your favorite blinker fluid of the week. And at the end of the live stream, we will let you know exactly who was the winner of this week's. I mean, this one's going to be difficult, but Gary, how do you feel about your driving skills, making sure that you make it to the correct number 2 station?
I feel like due to your ridicule that I was definitely the loser of the week. So thank you for inviting me on this panel.
And for you will get a lifetime supply of Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. You're welcome.
No consolation. I want Dinty Moore's beef stew. Thank you. I'm holding out.
Oh, okay.
Dinty Moore's beef stew.
That's actually a really good idea.
Good stuff.
Yes. Hey, TJ, thank you so much for coming in. TJ wasn't able to come in to the show today because he had to work, but appreciate you coming in and checking in, my friend. So we're going to be talking about the trucking industry, and I'm glad to have Gary on the panel too because I know that he's going to have some very interesting questions, and that's the biggest thing. And I would just like to get the opinion of the panelists here about what I just read at the intro of the show, starting with Chris and working our way around about the English. Now, let's just get this straight. The English proficiency rule is already in the FMCSRs. In fact, it's one of the original FMCSRs that were created when the FMCSA was created. So this is not anything new. In fact, it just was not enforced for the past 10 years, and now it's going to be back being enforced. So, Chris, what are your thoughts on it?
I think that how do I want to say this best? If you I have no problem with anybody working and doing anything at all for safety for yourself and others, either being a small local delivery driver to a over-road trucker. You have to know what road signs say. If it says do not enter, caution, exit 2 miles, you need to know that stuff. You need to be able to understand it and be able to adhere to it, because the signs are there for a reason. It's not just random billboards. It's something there that's supposed to be there for safety.
Okay, Carl.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with all of that. The safety is the biggest issue. The communication also at a shipping and receiving dock could probably be expedited also if they could speak English. So there's a cost issue with that. But yeah, I agree that the safety is the biggest part with communicating, reading, especially in an emergency situation, or there's been some past accidents too with foreign language. Not saying that was the direct cause of it, but it definitely didn't look good.
Yeah, there's been accidents that have been attributed to not being able to read the road signs, right? And
Right.
in fact, one of them was back in Colorado with the driver that lost his brakes going down the hill.
Right.
Dan.
Blew past what, two breaks?
Yeah.
Runaway.
Yeah.
Routes? Yep. I completely agree, and I mean, I'm not like when I was in Germany, I tried to speak German. I spoke a little bit. I can't speak anything now, but I would try and get a little bit, even though I was only there for a couple of years. But I'm a firm believer, if you're going to come to a country, you should speak English or that language, or at least attempt to. But driving, you should not. I mean, I don't even think you should be driving a regular vehicle, but let alone a commercial vehicle and not know English. I mean, I know some of the GPSs that they have their GPS in their language, but it's still, it doesn't translate your road signs. And I have a video. I actually have a couple of videos where there was non-English speaking driver making a left turn, making a right turn into a wrong way direction. So
yeah, I could definitely see that. Gary, as a layman, but also a driver of the public roadways, what do you think about it?
I honestly, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, why? If I'm not mistaken, didn't you, or maybe I'm confused here, wasn't this already a law or regulation in place, just was not enforced? Or correct me if I'm wrong. And when I sent you the information or tagged you in videos about self-driving tractor trailers, am I confused, or please enlighten me?
No, and we're going to get into the self-driving tractor trailers a little bit later on, hopefully. But yes, this was a rule that was installed back when, like I said earlier, back when the FMCSA was first started. It was one of the first FMCSRs that was created. So, and then 10 years ago, they stopped enforcing it, and now we're going back to enforcement again. So there's been 10 years of drivers on the road that don't speak, read, or write the English language because they don't understand it. And there's going to be an issue. And Ryan brought up the fact that, and we've brought up the Wyoming tunnel for 2 or 3 live streams now. And there was some people that might not have spoke English that might have contributed to some of the accidents. I can't say that it was or not because I don't have the evidence from that. But I can just say that, it's a possibility because there's a lot of people that drive I-80 that don't have the capacity to understand the English language. And so that's why, and what I was thinking of earlier was the executive order that Trump has signed into, not into law, but his executive order that he signed, basically saying that they have to enforce English in the trucking industry. And now the CVSA has gone out there and said, yeah, we're going to adhere to this. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up is trucking jobs in demand. And I'm going to share this with everybody once I get my tabs all situated here. So truck driving jobs are currently in high demand due to a nationwide shortage. Now, this was, this was something that has been disputed many times, but I'm pretty sure that if we start losing some of these English or these drivers that don't speak English, I'm sure that the driver shortage will actually happen. This is particularly true for specialized roles like hazmat drivers, car haulers, tanker drivers, and those involved in oversized loads. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects a 5% increase in the number of heavy and tractor-trailer truck drivers over the road in the next decade. Now, here's the one thing that goes into, like, we're going to do the pros and cons, okay? And we'll probably go around the screen here, because with trucking being such an integral part of this nation's infrastructure, we depend on people like me, Carl, Dan, and Chris to do their jobs on a day-to-day basis, because if they don't, then we're not going to have stuff in the stores, we're not going to have our packages delivered, so on and so forth. Now, we don't have to talk about who we drive for. I'm the only one up here that pretty much is public on who I drive for. But who's willing to do a couple of pros about being in the trucking industry?
Oh, one pro is you never know where you're going to be from one day to the next, and you get to see some amazing country. So
okay, the first half of that could be the first half of that could be a pro or a con depending on who you are, but the second half of it is absolutely a pro.
I mean,
Carl,
there's some views that you can never see anywhere else.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that right there. Some of the things you can see it's pretty amazing. If you're having a good day and you're out in the open, I mean, you're not stuck in an office. You're not stuck around people talking to you if you don't want to talk. It's a pretty independent job, minus, the motor in public and all that, but like
right.
Enclosed area. I mean, you can, you can do whatever you want, with yourself, thoughts or phone calls or listen to the radio. I mean, whatever. So I think that's a plus.
Absolutely. Chris, do you have any positives?
Well, before I do, I saw Gary's hand up. I was
Okay.
let Gary.
Yeah. Gary, do you have a pro?
No, I yield the floor to Mr. Satry America. I apologize.
No, you're good. I have to reiterate what Carl said. It's nice to be able, you get into a factory job or some kind of banker job, something like that, 9 to 5. You punch in, you're not able to take a phone call or do anything like that. You basically are able to work at your own pace to be able to get your job done. That's the biggest thing. If you're feeling like you can do a little extra that day, you do a little extra that day. If you're a little bit laggy, I mean, it happens, but I mean, it's a little bit more forgiving than what a paver or something like that, or a plumber's job.
Absolutely. Gary, what did you want to contribute?
All right, honestly, I totally forgot what I was going to ask, but let me take this opportunity to ask Mr. Marks a question. What type of products do you deliver, Sir Carl?
Just anything except food related or frozen.
Okay.
If they can throw it in a box, then it doesn't have to be refrigerated. And if it doesn't fit, you do hazmat too, don't you, Carl?
Yes.
So let's go kind of. Go ahead, Gary.
I have a serious question. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck or anything, which I tend to often do. But how would you, Carl? How would you categorize, in layman's terms, what type of delivery service you do? Is it lumped into a certain category, or how does that work?
It's a mixture of. I mean, it's all different size commodities. It's your less than truckload parcel. We do have some truckload shipments also. So it's just a mixture, and I just go from terminal to terminal on the line haul side. So I could go over the road if I wanted to, but I choose to be home every day because of the girls and obviously my wife. So that's what that is.
Now, just to kind of explain, less than truckload would be a shipment that goes to different locations, where a truckload would be just a stop, one pickup, one stop. And then the great thing about this is everybody on panel does a little bit something different. I do over the road. Dan does local deliveries. Carl does line haul, terminal to terminal, and Chris actually does final mile, where he picks it up and takes it to the end user. So we kind of have a mixture, and Chris even has some experience with his dad being over the road truck driver. So I'm glad to have everybody here on the panel, and I'm glad that Gary's here so that he can ask the questions that some people probably would not have thought of. So one of the things that I want to kind of bring up, and
Gary puts a good twist to it too, though, because Gary puts it on the shelf.
That's true, he does. So you're even part of that part of the transportation. So
Gary also participated in something like that too. I didn't mean to step over everybody. I was just saying that Gary did something kind of like what I do in a way at one time too, back with a couple years ago with a courier service.
That's true, he did. I completely forgot about that too.
Yeah, that was a train wreck because what I didn't like about it was your independent contractor. And they, it was like so many delays, so many things, and like it was like basically you're supposed to be operating your own business, but you were dictated by everything they said. So you really weren't operating your own business. You kind of like were told where to go, when to go, how to go, and I didn't like it. And then like it was literally crazy. Like Chris I don't know if Chris can relate to this or not, but like there would be days like I would drive like 10 or 15 miles to deliver a package and be paid $2 for that delivery on top of the fuel expenses. It was crazy.
I go by hourly, so at least I guess I don't have to deal with that, but there are some people in my industry who do get paid by package, being delivered like a courier, and some people do it as a flat rate, so much per day or so much per week.
Yeah, I know if there's one, I won't put out the name, but we've had a couple drivers that have came from said company, and they got paid like $150 a day, and they would just load them. It didn't matter how many stops they had. If they had one stop or if they had 50 stops, they still got paid $150. And 99% of the time they was, working 13, 14-hour days.
Well,
For,
yeah,
yeah,
that
they just,
that would be crazy.
I would never do it, but I'd be like, nope.
Well,
I actually,
and
I was going to say,
Go
I
ahead,
actually
Brett.
have a coworker that him and I both were running 250 miles for 100 stops every day. And there was days we were leaving at 9 o'clock in the morning from where we were loading, and we weren't getting back until 10 o'clock at night. And then I have an hour drive back home from where I start out my day from dispatch. So it's 11 o'clock at night by the time I get home, and I'm back at it at 7 a.m. So it sometimes can be kind of tricky.
well, and here's I mean that would definitely be in the con
The
category, right? But here's one of the big cons, and I really want to get everybody's opinion on this, because this is something that has been told to me for years, and it's something that needs to be fixed, in my opinion. But I want to hear your opinion. The U.S. Department of Labor's classification of truck driving as unskilled labor is a complex issue with varying perspectives. While some argue that it is a skilled profession requiring specialized training and experience, others believe it fits the definition of unskilled due to the relatively low educational requirements. So therefore, you don't have to go to college. And the fact that the basic driving task can be learned with minimal training. Carl, I'm going to shoot this one to you, because I think that last sentence is actually completely wrong. What say you?
Yeah, anybody that says it's unskilled labor, I'll hand over the keys and let somebody try it out and see what they can do in traffic in a metro city, in a blizzard, in strong storm. Yeah, something beeping. So weather, traffic, pulling in and out of docks or crowded truck stops. Even something simple as the wind. Like I said, I pull doubles and triples every day. It's a challenge. Education, I think it's always more or less like an everyday education. You're going to see different things. You're going to come into different experiences. But the biggest thing is you're next to people that have minimum experience, whether it be a car or a big truck. You could be next to a 16-year-old just getting their license. You could be next to a 18 to 21-year-old just getting their CDL. Other people are going through their, everybody's got different emotions while they're driving. Construction zones. There's a whole list of negatives when it comes to driving. And so when people say that you don't need to be educated or it's an unskilled profession, I completely disagree. And that's where I said, anybody that says that that it is unskilled, well, man up and let's see what you can do.
Well, here's my question on that, and then I'll say my piece, and then I'll switch it down to Chris. In order to become a truck driver, in order to do the job, number one, you have to know all of the FMCSRs in that little green book that they give you, which has got every single rule for transportation that you need to know. Not only that, so you know all of the federal regulations, then you need to know all the state regulations, and then you need to know how every piece of your truck operates, so that if there's something wrong with it, that you can have it repaired before you start your day, or you have it prepared after you end your day. There's so many things that you have to know knowledge based, not even just the driving part, but there's a knowledge base that you have to know. You have to know how much weight goes on your axles. You have to know how much weight is allowed per axle per state. You have to know the chain laws in every single state, because each state is different. Right. There's so many things that you have to learn along the way to be a truck driver, that it's not like you pop in and you drive. out of the gate. Hey, Robert Mack, thank you so much for coming in. And Scott says, just like race car drivers. And Robert Mack was also a truck driver too, so I'm sure that he has some opinions on this. But Chris, what do you think about the unskilled labor?
Okay, so I'm going to make this one pretty easy, and I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions. To be a nurse, you have to go to nursing school, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
To be a doctor, you have to go to college. To be a forklift operator, you have to take training.
Yep.
I have, in a matter of probably 40, 50 miles around me, I have 4 truck driving schools. I have 1 truck driving school that's 4 miles away from here. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. Back when my dad got his CDLs back in the 60s, and he always liked telling this story, they looked at him and said, you know how to drive manual? Yep. There's a semi. Go drive. He learned on the job. Was he good at it? No. But nowadays, with the amount of people that's out there, that's on the roads, that just general population, you have to make sure that you're safe. You know exactly what's going on around. Adapt and overcome any kind of obstacle. If, like Carl said, with weather, to, like you said about, making sure that if you know a breakdown, you know what's going on. To say that unskilled, everything from what you guys do to what I do, I can tell you right now, and I've worked with a gentleman last year that never drove a vehicle that was an immigrant. He was not the greatest driver. He was a great guy, don't get me wrong, but he didn't know how to drive a bigger vehicle, and he took a vehicle right through a cornfield, not paying attention, literally plowed right through it. Great guy, don't get me wrong, and then I have a coworker right now that has in 1 month's time wrecked 3 vehicles, that has not paid attention where they were going, and this person's only been driving on the road total for 1.5 years. I mean,
Right.
I hate to say it, and that's you can see the difference between unskilled and somebody like Carl or Dan or yourself, or just somebody in general that's had 30 years of experience and knows what's going on.
So Dan, I'm going to bring this question to you. They made it a rule that in order to get your CDL now, that you have to attend a truck driving school. So do you think that should be changed just due to that fact alone?
Well, I don't think you really need to attend a truck driving school, but they did make it that. Now, I've actually I've trained 4 people from I brought up in our company to and train them on getting them from Class D to Class A driver's license. So they went from box trucks to Class A. So, and I'm luckily, I can say, I mean, I didn't send them to school. They didn't go to school. They went and took their learner's permit.
Okay.
Got their test, came out on the road with me, fought with them on teaching them how to shift. That was fun. And then
Yeah.
go into the backing. And so, I mean, you don't necessarily need to go to school. And I mean, you do learn a lot from the school, but you learn more at 90% of the school, like all the questions that, like 90% of the questions that I asked when I was going to school was, they will tell you that when you get to wherever you're going. Whatever job you take, they're going to teach you how to do that. Hey, how do you disconnect a fifth wheel from a truck? You'll learn that when you get to your unit, or well, not unit, but your job, whatever. How do you slide the tandems? They'll teach you that when you get to your job. How do you put the hands on the tires? You'll learn that when you get to your job. 90% of this stuff, they'll questions that you would ask. They would just refer to you. You'll learn that one after you get your license. You don't need to learn that now.
And I just want to just reference this rule change that was made back in 2022. It's February 7th, 2022. A rule change requires individuals applying for their first CDL or upgrading their CDL class to complete entry-level driver training from a federally approved provider before taking the CDL skills test.
Yeah. And I actually took the last guy that not the last guy that I trained, because I trained one other guy that had a previous CDL, so he was exempt from it. But the second to last guy that I trained, he took his test. He got his test his learner's permit the day before that restriction, and he was able to go through without going to school.
Robert Mack notes pre-trips, post-trips, brake check areas, using gears, going down grades, feather on and off brakes. I mean, these are all things that a driver needs to know how to do in order for them to actually drive a truck. So, Gary, would you call that skilled or unskilled labor?
Well, if you can prevent death and injury while performing a duty, I would call that skilled.
And I think what it boils down to is just the fact that they're able to save money by keeping it as an unskilled labor position, because if they actually paid somebody to do the job in a skilled position, more people would probably be asking for more money. So let's go into one of the pros of driving truck, and that is the money. Carl, do you think truck drivers get paid fairly well?
I think some do. I mean, that's debatable. I think depending on the company. I think experience comes into play also, or maybe there should be more of a progression when it comes to experience. But I mean, yeah, you can make your money, definitely. Some companies, like a previous company I worked for, I made really good money, but I had to work about 30 more hours than what I have to now to almost equal that same amount of money. So yeah, you can make good money.
So the national average the average wage for a truck driver in Michigan is around $63,755 annually, which is above the median income for the United States, which is right around $50,000. This includes both local and long haul drivers. Some sources list the average national salary for truck drivers as $92,974. Now, you're going to run into a situation where you're lumping in like union jobs and non-union jobs, and some companies, like Carl was saying, get paid more than others. So you can have a national annual salary of that high just due to the imbalance of the higher levels and the lower levels. But if you get with the right company, you can easily be making around $80,000-$90,000 a year. But when you're going to start out, you're not going to be starting out with that. Entry level, according to this article that I pulled up, was $49,918 annually. Now, one of the cons that you're also going to run into is that the average lifespan of an over-the-road truck driver is 61 years. This is significantly shorter than the average life expectancy of 78.7 years for the general U.S. population. The difference is often attributed to health challenges such as obesity, sleep apnea, diabetes, and heart problems. So that's also going to be a con. And then you've got relationships. Some suggest that truck drivers have a divorce rate as high as 70%. So you have relationship problems, you have health problems, and then but they try and put these wages out here for these drivers so that the money is worth it. Now, Dan, knowing what I just showed you as far as health and relationship issues, does the compensation really make it a pro, or what can make that better?
Well, it depends on the person, like home time. I know people that go out 3-4 weeks at a time and come home for 2 days or back out. Some of them are married, some of them not married, but it depends on. I wouldn't say it's a pro. There's because you're making a lot of money. There's a lot of money made, but there's a lot of hours. So are you really making that much money?
Right.
Is the thing that you'll see all that money, and most people are thinking, "Oh, you're making all that money, 40 hours a week." No, not 40 hours a week.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
No, because if you're not home, you're getting. You might not be getting paid, and you might not be like working hard. You might be even sleeping, but still, it's when you wake. You're asleep, not at home. You should be getting paid for that. So
you would think. Scott says, "What are your thoughts on the automatic trucks versus shifting?" Scott, I'm not really much a fan of them, but I know that they're the reality now. In fact, you can't even really get a manual truck anymore unless you get it special ordered, and that's just due from the types of drivers that we're getting into the trucks now, because most drivers don't know how to operate a manual transmission. So that kind of makes it difficult. Now, the other thing that I was going to ask, and Carl and I had talked about this earlier today, is the automated trucks. What are your guys' thoughts on the automated trucks?
I think they're stupid.
I don't really know much about them. I don't know. I've seen, some of the stuff like the automated vehicle cars that have been tricked with the operating systems. I hate to say it. It's probably one I'm going to have to punt to you guys. I'm not really 100% sure.
Dan.
I do not like them. I don't think they're safe. For one, it doesn't matter the technology. I know they can monitor the traffic and whatever, and they can scan, and they have a scan of the cars, and I think even pedestrians walking. But and the funny thing is I actually had a delivery to a place here in Utah that they are testing experiment or unmanned vehicles, like they do. They do have a place like there's they do work on that. They sent mines in. There's a mine in Australia that's one of their biggest clients, because the mine is so far out in the middle of nowhere that they can't keep people there to operate them, but the self-driving truck can operate itself, and it's not going to hurt anybody because it's out in the middle of nowhere. So
right,
I think they have a place, but this place here, they did the. I think I even showed you the pictures of the yard dog.
Yeah,
the automated yard dog that had the arm.
Yeah, you sent me that picture.
The arm was covered up, so you couldn't see the arm, but it actually had an arm that would back up and hook the airline and stuff to the trailer. And
well, we've got some comments rolling in with some questions, but before we get to those, Carl, I know that we talk about automated trucks, and I know that there's already companies that are running I-10 between California and Florida. They're running I-40 between the two coasts. They're running trucks out in the oil fields down in Texas so that they can prove concept that they don't have to have roads lines on the roads in order to operate. So, go ahead, Gary.
I'm not sure if it's my feed or your feed, but it tends to be breaking up. I guess my question is, like, so we're talking about automation, which is basically like a computer chip operated system, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So have you ever had a computer issue on your laptop, your desktop, or have you ever known of anybody who's had a computer related issue? And are there, what is probably the number one most growing industry in the United States? Is it computer technology?
I would say AI right now. I think right now AI is probably the fastest.
Okay. Do you think computer chips or anything like that have anything to do with that?
Well, I think anytime that you have technology, and Carl and I have talked about this ad nauseum about how these trucks that come out with these mirrors that are just nothing but cameras, and there's no backup. They don't have another camera out there, and they say that there's so much redundancy on those cameras that they don't have to worry about it. But we all know as truck drivers that technology fails us pretty much on a daily basis. So, it's all about a matter of, when it's going to fail, not if it's going to fail. But Carl was talking to me earlier about what he thought the wages were going to do if automated trucks were to happen. And then then you basically have the job of a truck driver that you're going to have an issue where your wages are going to be lower just due to the fact that you don't have to be as skilled because the truck does all the work.
Yeah, I think that's a big possibility. And people bring up the question, and this maybe do some research on, but they talk, the go-to answer right now is safety with the computers and all that kind of stuff. Hang on, I got a notification here. Then people compare like human error versus computer error. Now, I don't know if there's any like actual big percentages right now when it comes to that, but I don't trust it. I don't like technology when it comes to that. I think it's making more profit for the big corporations, and it's greed, and I can't stand it. And I hate to say it, but I blame the public. Some don't want to work. They're fascinated. Oh, we can get this done and we can get that done. They are like the whole self-checkout thing, the whole robots, they're taking jobs. I mean, at what point, how many jobs are going to be eliminated? And they talk about job growth and the future of employment, and the employment numbers are going to go up. Not if technology keeps taking over, I don't see how the employment numbers, through the fiscal quarters and all that, how did they keep going up when people are losing their jobs? That's my big question.
Okay, well, and that's a good question, Carl. And like my dad said, who do you sue in an accident? Do you sue the trucking company? Do you sue the manufacturer? Earlier we talked about wages, and my dad had mentioned that half of the folks are below average and half are above. On Location with Scott wanted to know what is safer, in my opinion, manual versus auto. I think manual is a lot safer than the auto shifts, especially like Dan said, sometimes it'll take 4 seconds in order for you to actually get going once you step on the pedal. And Robert Mack says, I believe every truck on the road needs a qualified operator. And that's absolutely true, electric or diesel. But, and we're getting towards the end of the program. It's 8 o'clock right now. This is a fascinating topic. And I just want to say that it's probably not going to be the last time that we have this topic, just because there's so much to get into with it. But I want you guys to think about this. And there's so many pros and there's so many cons of the trucking industry, right? Most of the pros have to deal with pay and benefits and stuff like that you're going to get from the company because they want you to come drive truck for them, right? But if we're not able to fill these seats, if we're not able to get drivers out there to do this job, what do we need to do in order to improve the trucking industry to get those drivers in the seats? Because that's the problem that trucking companies, I mean, they'll come out with a $10,000 sign-on bonus or a $20,000 sign-on bonus, whatever. But you have to attract the driver, or not even the driver, the worker out there to get into the trucking industry, because you have all these regulations you have to learn. You have all the fines you have to worry about. You have to pay for your CDL. You do have to pay for your medical card. You know, you're going to have to change. If you're a drinker, you're going to have to change what you do on your personal time, because if you get pulled over and you have over a 0.04, you get a DUI because you are supposed to be better than every other driver because you hold a CDL. So there's all these things that somebody could see as a negative. So I'm going to try and go around the room and get everybody's thoughts on what does the industry, not trucking companies per se, but the industry as a whole have to do in order to make the trucking, and I wouldn't even call it lifestyle, even though it is. Trucking isn't a job, it's a lifestyle. So let's just call it what it is. What do companies have to do in order to make the trucking lifestyle more appealing to the other people out there that would maybe go into the trucking industry, but they see all of these cons and they don't want to be away from their families?
Let's see. I'll start off, I guess. I think one thing is parking. There's not near enough parking. So there's not enough places for you to pull off the side. I mean, a lot of places you have to, like, literally, you know, you'll see a trucks pulling off the side of the road, taking their 30-minute break. Some of them take their 10-hour break on the side of the interstate.
I'm going to fight you on the 30-minute break thing, because the 30-minute break thing, people just do that because they're lazy and they don't plan.
Well, yeah, that is true. They do that because they're lazy and they don't plan. But I will agree with you on that. But there's a lot of people, because they don't want to back. Well, a lot of them can't back up anyway, so they don't want to stop.
Right.
Truck stop.
Yeah.
That's why the fuel islands get a lot of the 30-minute breakers too. But
yeah,
I honestly, I think parking though is is a key issue that would improve the trucking industry.
Absolutely. I'm not going to disagree with you there.
And the, like, 90% of the truck stops now, you know, half of their parking spaces are paid parking. So you have to pay to park. So that takes out half of their parking spots. Oh, but we donate half of the money to the local food bank. Yeah, well, what do you do with the other half of the money? Get rich.
Oh, they put it in their pocket. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I pay for I'm guilty. I pay to park all the time. I'll sometimes reserve a spot 2 days in advance. Mm-hmm. Chris, what do you think the industry needs to do?
You know, I think one thing is like you said, it's a lifestyle, and I think that companies need to understand that. Dispatchers need to understand that if this person, you know, say so-and-so is going to go and put their, you know, come in, that they have to at least treat them decent and make sure that they're able to accommodate them as something, you know, needs to be accommodated if there's a special need or anything like that, or at least give the person, say, hey, they say, you know, I'm on the road for 3 weeks straight. I want to take 4 days off. Don't send them home with a load and say, and I've seen this in the past with my father, they'd send him home with a load and say, this is a hot load. And he hasn't been home in 3 weeks, got to take his medication, get his refills, and go to the doctor. And they're like, you have to keep going after a day and a half. It's my dad basically looked at him and said, it's going to be a freezing cold load by the time I get there because I'm going to take my time. I think that's, you know, when it comes down to it, I understand that it gets paid a certain amount, but don't make unrealistic promises to get that load on the sacrifice of the driver whenever you're just going to push a pencil or a dial.
I agree with you on that. Carl, what do you feel needs to be done in order to attract people into the trucking industry that probably would see more cons than pros?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with all of you. I would say wages need to be looked at. You know, I know everybody pays differently, but, you know, when it comes to an hourly rate, mileage rate, detention time, delay, breakdown pay, but beyond beyond the trucking part of it, it's what are you going to afterwards? Retirement, pension, 401k match, health insurance. I mean, there's a lot of lowball that goes on with that. The work rules. I mean, the list goes on of stuff that they could improve. But I think a lot of it needs to be looked into when the job is done.
I don't want this to turn into a 2-hour live stream, so I'm going to ask for a show of hands. How many of you think, because I haven't heard this yet, how many do you think that respect from shippers and receivers
Oh yeah, of
would
course.
would affect that?
I
Exactly.
do have one other. I have one other thing too that
Go ahead.
nobody
ahead,
actually
Chris.
brought out. I think the general public needs to show a little bit more respect for truckers in general and show, you know, between you guys to me with the end result needs to respect that and understand what sacrifices as a family that a lot of us, you know, like you said, a high divorce rate to we see family members, you know, our children growing up and we're not being a part of it to, you know, losses of family members, you know, from death and our own health, you know, being sacrificed between, you know, heart disease and diabetes to injuries on the job. Like I just had a few months ago, and, you know, we're beating ourselves up for, you know, being to deliver stuff to people, I hate to say it, that are just ungrateful twerps, a lot of them. And just that, you know, get that idea out of their heads that instead of, you know, the trucker being the dirty, greasy gear jammer of the 70s to the, you know, the family man who, you know, gets to see his kids maybe 2 days a week at most, or, you know, or gets home late every night and has to get up early the next day.
And Chris, I think you nailed it right on the head, and that was going to be my closing statement. I think it boils down to respect. It boils down to respect from the shippers, the receivers, the trucking companies, but it boils down to respect from the motoring public and just the public as a whole. Because like Chris said, a lot of people see truck drivers as that dirty, nasty, oily truck driver from the 70s. Well, that has changed. Now we're all supposed to be professional drivers, right? We're all supposed to hold this higher standard. We're all supposed to be held to this higher standard, but we don't have that respect from the motoring public. There's still that stigma that every truck driver out there, and I'm not saying that everybody feels this way, but there's the stigma out there that says every truck driver is an uneducated bigot that doesn't know anything and just needs to be ignored. Or they don't even see the person in the truck at all, and you might as well have automated trucks because nobody sees the driver that's in the driver's seat. I mean, like I said earlier, there's a 70%. There could be a potential 70% divorce rate in trucking. So 7 out of 10 drivers that you see going down the road could be dealing with a divorce issue, like I am. And they're still trying to make a life for themselves, right? And you know, the only thing that the people care about is the fact that they have to get everywhere, and we haven't even gotten into the whole e-log situation, right? So you have that 14-hour clock that you have to abide by, and everybody else feels like they need to get to somewhere faster because they left the house 20 minutes late because they didn't plan their day on time, but you left your parking lot that you were parked at overnight on time like you were supposed to, and that person still feels like they have more rights to the road than you do. When in all actuality, the interstate system was made for transporting freight and for the military. That's what it was made for. It wasn't the purpose of it wasn't for you to go from California to New York to go on vacation. I mean, that's a byproduct of it, but that wasn't the intent. So I think a lot of it does boil down to respect. And I think we need to have more of these conversations. I think we need to have more of these episodes because I think that we still need to continue to talk about, you know, the things that are the pros and cons in the trucking industry, because there are pros. I have been able to provide a life for my family throughout the years that I've been a truck driver. Has it been easy? Hell no. Hell no. Do I like to be away from home? No, I don't. I hate being away from home. Am I in a situation now where I'm better off than I ever have before? Absolutely 100%. But there's guys out there that are working, like Chris said, 2-3 weeks at a time, and then they get 2 days off at home, and then they have to go right back out. I mean, most trucking companies have, for every week that you're out, you get 1 day off at home. Well, if you're out for 2 weeks, you go home for 2 days. How is that fair? I also think that we need to discuss a pay per hour or a pay per day. I don't think that the pay per mile thing is even worth it anymore, because I think that most people will drive unsafe because of the pay per mile system, and I think it needs to go. I think all these things need to be discussed, and I think that I have the right panel here of people to talk to about this kind of thing, and I definitely have the great audience for this. And before we go, I'm going to go through some of these comments here. Let's see here. Robert Mack doesn't ever go through self-checkout. That's the same as Carl. Doesn't want any vehicle that goes on a roadway that's electric. Well, unfortunately, that's always going to be a thing. Thank you, Scott. Hey, Tony, thank you so much for coming in. I did see you come in. Sorry, brother. I got on my soapbox. Okay, so Robert Mack says better pay for qualified drivers. So companies, yeah, corporate greed. Carl kind of alluded to that. And then more truck parking on highway for commercial trucks. And there's always going to be a need for commercial truck parking. That is absolutely 100%. And Arkansas is Arkansas is the first state to enforce the English rules. So I kind of want to thank the state of Arkansas for going out there and taking the initiative on that. And Robert also says, I agree, pay per mile causes too many speeding and reckless driving habits for some, and especially around construction zones. And, you know, like I said, we could go for hours on this topic, and I think that we need to revisit at some time in the future when we can get Carl, Chris, and Dan back on the panel, because I think it's an important subject, wouldn't you guys?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Shouldn't parking for truckers be a company responsibility? And I'm going to say this, Scott, that Brake Bush Transportation does take responsibility for us being parked safely, and that's why they allow us to use the pay to park system. And that's why they also reimburse us for the pay to park system, because they always want us to be parked safely. Doesn't mean every trucking company does that.
Not every trucking company does it. Mine does. If you have to pay, you get reimbursed. But I know a couple people that do not get paid reimbursed.
So we are going to go and we're going to see who our winner is of our diesel flavored blinker fluid of the week. Is everybody ready for the answer to that question? So the winner of this week's
1 through 4.
blinker fluid of the week is that would be number 2.
There's going to be 1 through 4.
Number 2 with 45% of the vote has got it.
Well, that's awesome.
So congratulations to number 2. You got the number 2 prize.
Gary had to go number 2 on number 2.
Yes. Let's see here. Oh, before we go, Ryan wants to add something. He wants to add something about truck stops bringing more healthy food and walking paths. I mean, if truck stops want to do that, that would help too. But making it affordable versus what they're charging for food now. But Dan, your last words for tonight.
Have a great week, everyone. Be safe and don't do anything stupid like me.
Carl?
I guess I would say no matter what your job is, if you have to go to meetings or, if there's any memos pertaining to having a machine train or work with data or whatever to make things quote unquote easier or safer, they're probably trying to get rid of you as an employee also. So always just keep a lookout that no job is safe when it comes to a computer, and just keep a lookout for that those meetings coming up one day that they're going to try something different.
Absolutely. Chris?
I think we haven't even scratched the surface yet of everything. I mean, I'm looking at the ticker and it's over an hour and 17 minutes. I think, like you said, we could go on this for 8-10 hours on everything
easily.
But there's a lot of good out there. There's a lot of bad out there. And I think it's up to each individual on what they think is best for themselves and their family, on what they choose to do, at what path. I think what it just boils down is to, if you do get into the trucking industry, just understand what could be your way.
Very well said. And hey, Mr. Polanowski, thank you so much for coming in. And also Lone Cowboy Adventures, Ken, thank you so much for coming in. We're just closing out the show. And Tony, congratulations on the new job. I knew it wasn't going to take you long. I think what it boils down to is just like any other position in any other industry, it boils down to respect. And I don't think that the truck drivers out there get the amount of respect that they deserve. And I know I know I'm coming out of a biased corner out of this, right? So when I say this, I know that how it comes across. But I also know how difficult it is for truck drivers to enter into the industry because they do miss that home time. They do have to live in a box that's smaller than a jail cell. They do have that responsibility for that load 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter whether they're on duty, off duty, or whatever. Even though the company says you're off duty, you're still responsible to make sure that truck and trailer don't get damaged or anything like that. So, there's so many things that you have to learn that sometimes you can learn it through a book. Sometimes you have to learn it on the road. You can't just go into this industry blind. And that's why I want to do more of these types of live streams, because I would like to improve the industry. I would like to improve the respect from the shippers and receivers. I would like to go back to the days where truck drivers actually helped one another instead of it's every man for himself. But we can't do that alone, and we can't do that until we start having conversations. And the only way we're going to have conversations about it is if we're brave enough to go out there and put ourselves out there and say, we're going to be the change. So let's be the change out there this week, and let's show somebody a little bit of respect that we didn't get. And then let's ask them to pass it along. I thank every single one of you for coming along for this ride with me, and we'll see you later on down the road.